Not surprising. It's Yankum.
He just kind of switches on being alive and dead from time.
Oh, hold on. It says we're live, but the live stream thing says okay. There it goes. It took a minute to catch up. Yay! Green stream health. That's nice. But yeah, we're on the air. I'm going to put in my my headphones.
Okay. And did you have the broadcast tower in here that we're actually broadcasting?
We don't need the broadcast tower to broadcast.
Okay.
At this point, it's the sound effect tower until I can replace it.
I see. Okay. And the sound effects are you banging your...
In the good news department, I saw an HP, I want to say 2800 series, for $250. I wasn't able to snatch it up. If it's still at the place I saw it, I'm gonna go get it this week.
Okay. You want to just hit the theme music? We can get started. I assume Omega's ready. Mr. BR.
That's the theme music is
Yeah. yeah.
Tell me when to go.
Hold on, I'm working on it.
Like your mom worked on my dick. Oh.
Everyone's dead.
How did my mom find access to an electron microscope?
Well, we needed to find yours. Still haven't found it yet. That's why they're putting the...
Nope. That's basically a no you response. I win. Fuck you.
Well, I mean, they can't take you over to France to put you in
the Large Hadron Collider. Go fuck yourself. Theme music. And
theme music
here. It's coming. Just calm your fucking tits.
I can't calm my tits. They're kind of agitated.
That's what your mom said after I came all over hers. Oh!
No.
Oh, would you quit that?
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Smark Snark, episode 253. My name is Gunnar. I'd like to thank podcastthemes.com for our little theme song there. Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, etc. You could follow us on all the social medias, and if you could do that, please, it's /SmarkSnark. Well, I'm Gunnar. Over there is Omega BR.
We had to start an hour later tonight because Yankum lost his passport.
I got that joke. So Mr. Lost Passport. It may or may not have been Jomo who stole it, but I was our technical producer this evening.
Fucking Jables.
Also joining us is Shao Gata.
Someone's going to be getting a bopping, and I think his name rhymes with Tatchell.
Kitty Blankenship and Weir are here, but they don't have their microphones on. So save us, dog.
You just go ahead and call me Dog Bradshaw Layfield tonight, because I'm gonna bully you motherfuckers.
So are you
Back you
saying
into the corner.
you're a wrestling dog?
Yes, exactly. Gonna back you fuckers into the corner of the shower and
Oh God, no! Stop!
I'm trying to combine all of them. There's too many to combine into one shower scene, so
I would just like to remind everybody that Orlando Jordan was in JBL's cabinet. Orlando Jordan, JBL's cabinet.
yeah, and of all of the motherfuckers he's made fun of, he didn't make fun of Orlando Jordan. Gay.
Well, apparently, from what I heard, Jordan was kind of like his lackey.
What a bitch. All right.
Maybe he just no-sold the fuck out of it, and then Jables was like, "Oh, okay, you're cool, I guess."
Or maybe he was just Nat Jester. You know what I'm saying? All right, moving on. Let's get into the news. So CBS Sports reports Mauro Ranallo is not expected to be back on WWE TV before his contract expires in August, and Ranallo has removed any mention of WWE from his Twitter, widely reported to be a result of harassment from John Bradshaw Layfield, which came to a head after he ranted against Mauro on the Bring It to the Table show for tweeting his thanks for being voted the Observer's Announcer of the Year. Justin Roberts Newbrook has been a talking point as well due to stories he mentioned for being tormented by JBL. For he and Joey Mercury were instructed to, for seemingly no reason, including to having his passport stolen in Europe. John Morrison told Deadspin that he and Joey Mercury were instructed to steal it, but did not. JBL tweeted that he did not steal the passport, and Roberts is an idiot, and that everyone hated him. He also apparently blocked anyone tweeting support to Morrow on Twitter, as well as anyone simply following the both of them. JBL did work SmackDown, but fans on multiple points chanted "Fire Layfield," and a fan with a "JBL bullied me" sign was escorted out. So the fans really going against JBL here, and let me bring this to a little personal level here. So I understand the mentality in which that JBL is working in. That mentality of, he having to be a tough guy. Obviously, he's from Texas. Obviously, he's from a particular era in which all of this was acceptable, aka the 80s and before.
And don't forget about his NFL career too. During those days, was probably pretty damn acceptable then.
"Quote unquote" NFL career and all this locker room talk you hear about. At the end of the day, what it turns into is a cycle of terrible people, and us acknowledging the fact that these terrible people are all around us. I've had people in my life who I've kept around and was in a similar situation when I didn't even realize that they were big bullies or bullying me. And when I see shit like this, it really, rustles my jimmies to see, that people are still acting like this, supporting some people in this particular position. Don't get me wrong. I like JBL as a commentator. I think he's damn good. His 2004 WWE title reign was one of the best ever. Don't get me wrong on all of that. And we could all sit here and say Benoit was a great wrestler too. But, and there's the big but right there. There's the actual person behind the character. There's the actual problem of having a person, with actual emotions and feelings that aren't scripted, being behind something that we watch on television and idolize. It's the simple fact that we have a menace. And I'm not trying to sit here and be Tumblr SJW kind of shit here. It's a simple. It's not acceptable anymore, and the time has changed in which his behavior has become passe. Same as King's behavior towards women with like puppies and all that nonsense has become passe. I believe that JBL should be fired at this particular point. If it's true that he caused Morrow this much grief, correct thing to do. However, will he find work elsewhere? I believe Josh Matthews needs a little bullying. Don't you guys agree?
With the Josh Matthews needs bullying thing, I wouldn't necessarily encouraging. Okay, so here's my thing on this. Picking on the new guy is a time-honored tradition that I have no problem with. I've been the new guy. I've been picked on. That's fine. Jables takes it way fucking beyond the pale, and that's the problem. When you're like sticking your fingers in people's butts, intentionally misplacing their passports so that they're stuck in a foreign country, and all the horrible shit that he's done, then yeah, that's too much. He needs to go. But I don't. This idea that guys shouldn't be tough or people shouldn't be tough, that I kind of people need to be tough.
Here's where I'm at. Pretty much, he was quote unquote trying to rib a guy who's the new guy who is well known to not be mentally well. And, it's not really a rib, it's not really a joke if only one person's laughing. And I don't think Morrow and JBL were, close buddy enough to do all this ribbing. And Morrow, he didn't understand what was going on, and it probably, got him into the state to where, he didn't want to be at the workplace anymore.
Can I just differentiate something right now? Telling a dude to kill himself, whether or not he has long-term depression or bipolar disorder, that ain't a rib. It never was a rib. It ain't ever going to be a rib. That is bullshit. That in any other corporate entity, that motherfucker would be on. He'd be gone in a like that. That ain't a rib.
I agree 1,000,000,000,000,000,000% on that. That is just completely indicative of the fact that JBL does not understand limits and takes shit way too fucking far and needs to go. I hate to be fucking squared circle over here, because all week all squared circle has been is look who's covering the JBL thing now, and I'm like, ugh. But maybe it's good. Maybe they'll get rid of the son of a bitch, because as much as I like him as a wrestler and an announcer, he's a horrible, despicable fucking person. It's time for him to retire.
And here's the huge difference between JBL and Joey Matthews. Or not Joey Matthews, the other commentator. Josh Matthews, there it is. Josh Matthews, this is like half a gimmick in TNA. The fans already didn't like him, and he's using part of this to be a gimmick. And maybe if he is a bit of a dick, he doesn't have like a decades-long history of being a worthless piece of trash. You didn't hear stories about this, about like stuff about Josh Matthews like this when he was in WWE. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but just I don't remember Josh Matthews in 2007 cornering dudes in the shower and shit.
Right.
Well,
and
here's the thing. Stealing a guy's passport ain't a rib either. To the point where he can't get to his own country. I think there's a difference between a rib where it's a joke and it's meant to be funny, and the guy that it gets done to is even supposed to laugh, and then at some point he's going to get you back. And then there's also hazing or testing a guy to where, okay, let's see if he can really make it. Like, for example, here's The Miz, who is an MTV reality guy, and they hired him, and we're going to make him dress in the hallway for 6 months because he ate some chicken over a guy's bag, and let's see if he complains about it or, whatever. But then there's just straight up torture, which is apparently what he did to Roberts. And I don't know to what degree
And
he did that to Morrow, but
I don't believe for 1 second that everybody hated Justin Roberts. That dude, I've met him uh, 3 times, and every time he has been just the coolest fucking dude. Like, he stays after a show ends, even if it's a house show. Like, he stays after and hangs out with fans and talks and takes pictures. He's a good dude. I seriously doubt that everyone in the locker room hated Justin Roberts.
well,
And
there
the
was
easy barometer for that is now that he's not employed with the WWE anymore. How many other people came out and said Justin Roberts is a dickbag? No one.
None.
Yeah, exactly.
you
So
know
it's bullshit.
Nova did a shoot at some point, and he was talking about they're in Japan, and JBL and his guys are at the bar, the hotel bar or whatever, and they know that they're going to get messed with, or not them, but at least Roberts anyway. And so they asked, I forget who they asked to come and basically accompany them to like Ribera and other places because they knew that if this guy was with them, then JBL and those guys wouldn't mess with them. And then at one point they get back to the hotel, Roberts is in his room, and then the guys from the bar basically call to his room and tell him to come down because they want to mess with him. And then if he doesn't do it, they go up and they start banging on the door, so hard that it's like, Nova said something to the effect of, "I was just praying he didn't open the door because I thought they were going to kill him if he did." So, and there's this other story about how JBL, there was a heel bus and a face bus, and the heel bus made the face bus stop, and they wouldn't let him go again until Roberts got on the heel bus, and then Roberts was just messed with the entire time on the heel bus. And so that's what I said. There's a difference between ribbing and such, and even being a tough guy, and just straight up torturing a guy. And you torture a guy because, I mean, when you talk about bullying and all these things, it's because certain people, it's not that they let it happen, but certain people are not confrontational. They're not gonna necessarily stand up for themselves, or even if they do, they're not the kind of guy who can make them stop. Really, I mean, it's a matter of we all know Joey Styles knocked JBL out, and apparently he never did anything to Styles after that, which I wouldn't either. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing. Apparently, it happened right in front of Vince too. But that's actually the bigger problem with this whole thing is after that whole incident, apparently Vince McMahon was leaving a meeting and he whispers to Roberts, "Hey, don't forget your passport," laughing about it. And JBL is very beloved by Vince, and that's basically it's not just a JBL problem because a lot of what JBL says on commentary and stuff that's fed to him from Vince. Those are Vince's words. So it's really a climate of these guys and their own entertainment and what they find entertaining and what I mean, to sum it up, just they find pleasure in the misfortune and displeasure of others.
I think you highlighted the difference between the two perfectly, making Miz sit dressed in the hallway for 6 months because he ate chicken over somebody's bag. That's acceptable. Fingering a guy's butthole, torturing another guy, just the levels of shit that he gets up to. I don't know how they haven't been fucking sued.
At the end of the day, what it turns into is that JBL is actually a bully. And it's from that old school mentality of way back when wrestlers, had to fight and claw and, be at each other's throats to be, make it in this business. And they obviously protected the business. And to protect the business, you had to rib people. And that brought up this culture of bullying, which brought in the kind of people that would find it acceptable to, stick their thumb up someone's bum for real.
Here's the thing, too. Few as they may be, a couple of people have come out and kind of not defended what he did, but say, JBL's a good guy. He's a man's man. He's a tough guy. No, he's not. No, he's not. Because here's the thing: if he was, he wouldn't be, scanning through Twitter to block everybody who makes a comment about it, or block everybody who gives moral support, or block everybody who simply follows the both of them. I mean, come on.
If you don't come off as a bitch and you come off as a tough guy or somebody that's like JBL, JBL will like you. I guarantee you that all those people are almost like JBL. But here's the problem with all of this. And it's not just JBL. I want everyone to realize here that JBL is just a figurehead. JBL kind of represents this particular person or
he represents
type
Vince.
of person. Yeah,
I'm tired of beating around the bush with this. He represents Vince. This shit is never going to change as long as Vince is still in charge. And he ain't going to stop being in charge until he fucking dies.
Well,
I'm done beating around the bush with this. This is all coming from Vince. If Vince didn't find this okay, this would not be happening. But because he's so fucked up in the head from his childhood and all the rest of his bullshit, he thinks it's fine, so it's fine.
And that's also from, well, like I said previously, from that environment in which that this is okay. This is acceptable behavior. And when things happen like this, and everyone on the internet realizes what happens, and you got, that's wrong, or this or that, and the next thing, obviously he's going to get protected. Is he going to get fired from the company? Absolutely. At some point or another, I expect this to either blow over completely and nothing happen, or JBL gets fired because there's so much crap going on and so much bad press that it looks bad otherwise for them to keep it on. And the only way to hurt Vince in this particular case is with his wallets. And since JBL's on SmackDown, and since I just saw the ratings for this week for SmackDown, I don't think at any point or another that JBL will actually, either be forced to step down, if you would. But that's what it would turn into. It'd be an embarrassing political move.
It's funny because on SmackDown this week, he did not play the heel at all. He was happy. He was smiling. He was laughing. He loved it when Mojo got on the table and took his hat. He loved Gronkowski. He bantered with Tom and I think even Byron. Byron was all giddy and excited for the New Day coming to SmackDown, and JBL didn't say a word to him. The only negative thing he said the entire night was about Ellsworth, which makes sense because he has for weeks and everything. But yeah, I mean, it was really obvious just how positive he was the entire night, and apparently Meltzer's saying that they're trying to make this blow over without actually blowing it up, which is basically they're trying to come to an agreement with Morrow to basically not talk about it. And to me, that's kind of the double standard of this whole thing, and the industry and Vince, where they realize it's a problem, they realize they messed up, but they don't really want to change very much. They don't really want to make it right. They just want to make it go away.
Look, at the end of the day, and if you're a wrestling promoter, if you're a wrestler, if you're one of the boys in the back or girls in the back, and you see this kind of shit going on, don't fucking put up with it. Tell people.
I would like to think the vast majority don't put up with it, especially now that a lot of the locker room is a lot of these indie guys who, have been wrestling for 10 years, and unless they're just jerks like JBL happens to be, I don't see, like, for example, a Styles or a Joe putting up with it, or and part of it kind of comes down to that whole switch of gears where wrestlers used to go out and go to the strip club and drink, and now they play video games at the hotel. I mean, it's just kind of
it's a culture shift, and we're still in the middle of it. And if you feel that you're in an environment in which that's happening, you need to get out of that environment. Because let me tell you, brother, being in a shindy and realizing that it's a shindy because of the people that are in the shindy, that makes you really just want to go elsewhere and pursue your craft. And don't feel bad if that ends up being the case. Is all I'm saying.
Before we move on, just who else would pay to be a fly on the wall in the circumstance where JBL tries to bully Samoa Joe?
Bully's fat.
Well, here's a funny story. I think it might have been Nova who told this story too. or no, it wasn't. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, basically, JBL. This is back in the day, like late '90s. JBL starts patting Steve Blackman on the butt, and Blackman's. This was at an airport, and Blackman was like, knock it off. So he does it again, and he's like, seriously, I'm not going to tell you again. So he does it again, and then finally he's like, all right, I'm messing you up, and like he gives him a straight right and knocks him over, and then he goes to kick him in the chest, but his foot gets caught in a luggage bag, like the strap of a luggage bag, and by this point, people are holding them back. Like I think Farouk was holding back JBL, and basically they got separated, and later on, JBL apologizes to Blackman, and Blackman's like, "No apologies, I'm messing you up later." And then
Nice.
and then finally they're at the event, or they're at the next event or whatever, and Blackman's at catering, and JBL in front of everybody goes up and apologizes for real earnest, and I guess Blackman accepts it, but he tells whoever's telling the story, Blackman says, "Man, if it wasn't for that strap, he would be in intensive care right now," and and Layfield never bothered him again. So I mean that's Steve Blackman. A guy like Steve Blackman's no Joe, sure, but like I said, Morrow, professional announcer, he's your broadcast partner. There's no reason for it. It's
The
it's
best
just
broadcasted out and the best broadcast announcer he's ever had next to him, including Michael Cole and almost maybe even JR. You're trying to push that away out of the business because it doesn't look like you, it doesn't talk like you, it doesn't walk like you. Fuck you, JBL. All right, let's move on.
well, hopefully at least everybody, whether he's fired or not, which I don't think he will be unless somebody really, unless like Be a Star puts the pressure on. And it's funny because Be a
Be a
Star.
Star is not its own entity. That's 100% owned by WWE.
Oh no, it is. It is. They're a partnership.
You can't. I cannot find anything about Be a Star that is not somehow attached to WWE, and I scoured.
Well, that's what Meltzer has at least come up with. They're their own thing. It's not like WWE created Be a Star, but
No, WWE literally owns it. It's kind of like the same idea as some of these sporting leagues they have like a separate entity. It's like NFL Cares or NHL Cares or something like that. It's still technically owned and controlled by the league. It's just put together as a not-for-profit.
we're gonna have to look into that because the way Meltzer was talking, it really seemed like I think he would have brought that up if because he was talking as if Be a Star loved the partnership, but so that they weren't necessarily going to put the pressure on because they love the partnership, but at the same time, that's the whole basis of their organization. So
let's move on. YouTube has apparently deemed pro wrestling content as not advertiser friendly as part of their ongoing content changes and restrictive mode, including cutting revenue for channels if they don't meet a certain viewer count. AIW and Beyond Wrestling appear to have been affected, with others such as What Culture and even Impact possibly as well. So, I believe that the new YouTube problem is the fact that if you do not make 10,000 views with your YouTube video, you do not make money off of your YouTube video.
Well, the issue is they're trying to kind of play all sides here. They're trying to make it so that they're trying to control randomly generated ads, because when people see an ad for a product on some video they don't agree with, even though the advertiser usually has very little control over what gets popped up on YouTube, everyone pisses and moans and cries and bitches and complains, and then they have to try and fix it. This is eventually just going to lead to a system much like in television advertising, where all of the stuff that's rated for more mature, you're going to have more mature advertisers advertising there. Like, you won't see, and part of this is regulation, but you just won't see like liquor and things like that advertised until late night TV. It's going to be the same thing with YouTube. They're just going through some growing pains, and a bunch of people had to cry and moan and complain until they did something. So
Right.
And in the meantime, some of my favorite content creators are dying on account of they're not getting the revenue they used to now. So I'm afraid that a few of my favorites are going to go the way of the dodo.
And ladies and gentlemen, from the roboting bathroom in which that he takes a shit in, it's Ned Jester.
I plead the fifth.
I hate it when I call it right too. That's the worst part.
All right, so looking at the Be a Star page, it does look like it's a WWE form. WWE formed it, but it's kind of like it's like a partnership alliance basically with entities like Glad and Stomp Out Bullying, and the I think
And basically, if one of those groups decide that JBL shouldn't be there, JBL won't be there, and that's what we decided.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's not a good look either way.
Right. Moving on. Hopefully hopefully independent wrestling can actually survive on the YouTube idea here. Going back to that here for a second, I would be really disappointed if YouTube became this cutoff point for independent wrestling, where you wouldn't be able to put a video on there and actually make any money off of it.
I think the direction this will go, if YouTube doesn't end up fixing this, is some of those like AIW and Beyond Wrestling will put full shows up there and make it be like $5 to watch an old show, just kind of a blank, like TNA does that with some of their old pay-per-views, or used to anyway.
Right. All right, moving on. WWE apparently haven't decided what a House of Horrors match is yet. I recently sent out a fan survey asking what elements they would like to see, such as fire, darkness, music, venue, pitchforks, fog, a match outside the arena, and projected images. If it isn't a Punjabi prison match, I do not want it.
I swear, if this ends up like the Ambrose Asylum match, oh god. Because remember that shitty like rip-off of the Ravens Clockwork Orange match that was really boring, that Ambrose and Jericho?
It was like a combination of that, and then it had the roof from Lethal Lockdown on it, kind of, too. Wasn't there a plant hanging from that cage as well? Because that was storyline.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was another Mitch.
I try to forget WWE gimmick matches.
Where we cannot hear you. You gotta really speak up, bud.
I can hear him, but you should speak up.
All right. No, like I was trying to say, like I honestly try to forget like WWE gimmick matches, since like most of them don't really make any sense at all.
I mean, as long as it makes more sense than the King of the Mountain match, I think we're good.
King of the Mountain is dope.
Well, King of the Mountain actually works aesthetically because they actually build the match around the gimmick. I mean, that's part of the problem with half of these matches is it's like, okay, let's have a normal match, and then for 10 minutes, and then somebody's going to go into the cage or out of the cage, and then maybe we'll introduce a chair. Like most Hell in a Cell matches in the past 5, 6, 7 years, most of them have been just standard matches, really, and then maybe introduce a table or a weapon or something. But
don't get me started on Hell in a Cell matches nowadays.
Well, I just hope, perfectly honest, I really hope that the House of Horrors is outside of the ring and more like a pre-tape segment than anything else. I think it'd be cool if they just went through like this haunted house thing and like they had a match through it and it was like on the Wyatt compound or some bullshit like that.
Man, the Wyatt compound was supposedly this big, grand, important thing when Orton burned it down, and we've seen it maybe once when the New Day went there, and they didn't even really go there. They went to a bunch of muddy parking holes outside the compound, and you couldn't see anything, and it was really dumb. So, I mean, if you're going to go full gimmick and full goofy, I mean, that's what you do. You have it in a literal haunted house. You have, Orton getting freaked out by stuff. Well, not freaked out, but, you have a bunch of weird imagery and stuff. I mean, a lot of people
did a lot of good last time.
Well, I mean, a lot of people hated those projections, and I thought they were dumb, but they were dumb in the context that the match they had was really bad or really nothing.
Right.
And so, I mean, if you can, like we said before, it makes no sense that there wasn't a snake projection at the end, and it freaked White out, and that's why he lost. I mean, that's the problem. They do it so half cocked that people just
Well, here's the thing.
Stupid it is.
I understand why he didn't do that, though, because apparently there was an interview I read this week that Orton believed that his snake that was coming down the ramp at WrestleMania 33 here looked like a giant sperm. And I agree.
Yeah, well, that's what everybody said.
Well,
You thought it was that bad, huh?
I just want to know who has the advantage in this match, because all those scary predictions obviously didn't affect Orton much. He just hit a fucking RKO and won. And Bray just kind of gets distracted by it. So Bray's asking for this match, and it's just like, what a dumbass. You're just going to lose.
Well, it's funny because after Orton said that, now the snake is part of his regular Tron. Like that's his.
It looks
his
much less
now.
spermy though. It's very red.
Well, it doesn't actually move now. It just sort of. He's on Raw now, or no, he's not on Raw. He's on SmackDown now, and it stays at the stage. It doesn't move with him. I don't think.
Right.
The striking viper, yeah.
Moving on. Shelton Benjamin is medically cleared to return to the ring. No word if WWE will resign him. And the talks about WWE buying ROH are dead. However, they're still talking about licensing some old content. So, I mean, it'd be perfectly cool for them to start referencing careers of like Austin Aries, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness, etc. From ROH days with old ROH footage. But yeah, I'd like to see Shelton back, and I would like to see him be the Kurt Angle of what should we call it? American Alpha.
I'm actually like surprised that Ring of Honor isn't like taking advantage and like just putting their whole like video library online for people to see. Even though like probably they won't have as many subscriptions or like active subscriptions, like it'll still like bring up like a point of interest.
It does seem weird that all of these other smaller independents have on-demand streaming services of everything they've ever made. Although ROH does have a much, much bigger library.
Yes, and to convert all of that from VHS or DVD into the internets is actually quite difficult when you're going backwards. All right, that's it for the news. 15-minute time limit. Let's do this. Let's do this one quick. We're talking about the Superstar Shakeup this week. Ding, ding, ding. We'll pretend. So, all right. Generally down the board here. Who won, Raw or SmackDown?
I feel
Want to do the picks first, just to recap?
Sure. All right. So to recap, here's who went to Raw. David Otunga. Raw already lost with that pick, being perfectly honest.
Commentary only.
David Otunga, Apollo Crews, Kalisto, Heath Slater and Rhino, Kurt Hawkins, The Miz and Maurice, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Alexa Bliss, and Mickie James. And to SmackDown Live, Byron Saxton, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, The Shining Stars, Jinder Mahal, Charlotte, Sin Cara, Rusev and Lana, and The New Day. Oh, and Tamina too.
I feel like when it comes to star power, Raw got more because they got Bray Wyatt, they got Alexa Bliss, they got Miz, and they got Ambrose. Meanwhile, the only real big names that anyone really cares about on SmackDown is Zayn, Owens, Charlotte, and Rusev. That's about it.
There were a lot of guys. This wasn't like. This was like a lot of drafts where there's a core group of like true main event stars or true up and coming stars instead of people who you think about being big but they aren't really. Like for example, Rusev. I think it's a great move that he's going to SmackDown because I think he can kind of revitalize himself. But at the same time, it's like, well, what has he done in the past year that's really, except maybe the feud with Roman, where it's really like
Southpaw. God damn it.
this is a great pick. I mean, you know what I'm saying. Like a lot of, except for Miz, except for Miz on Raw and Owens on SmackDown, and maybe Alexa and Charlotte. A lot of these picks, it's like, who cares? Who cares what brand Sin Cara's on, or Kurt Hawkins, or
Lucha Dragons, though. And I think Zach's on Raw, too, so hello.
and again, it's like a lot of the big ones that were speculated didn't happen. Roman didn't go to SmackDown, AJ didn't go to Raw, the Club didn't go to SmackDown with AJ. I mean, the only big one I think that actually happened was Charlotte.
I'm just glad that Sasha didn't get drafted over to SmackDown as well.
I was expecting that to happen.
By the way, the implication is that if Kevin Owens loses the U.S. title match at Payback, it will in fact be Chris Jericho that goes to SmackDown, and Owens will be back on Raw.
Please?
I think that's just kind of add a little bit of suspense to that match because everybody really knows the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to lose it, but I think overall Raw was the winner because Raw has more guys that are like.
Oof. See, I feel really bad for the Miz and Maurice, and I feel really bad for Dean Ambrose because they are the new Rusev and Lana and Sami Zayn, respectively. They're going to be completely misused on Raw. They're going to be looked at as dorks. The only hope that Ambrose has is a Shield reunion. Like, they're going to get lost in the shuffle. And I think Bray is going to end up the same way, too. They just don't treat those guys on that almost to the top level, but they're not the top very well at all. The rest of the guys doesn't really matter. Heath Slater and Rhino are going to be the goofy team on either side. Kurt Hawkins is going to go lay down in the middle of the ring. On Raw or SmackDown, it's just those three guys I look at and go, they were doing great stuff on SmackDown, and I don't have that hope for them on Raw. And then on the other side, Sami Zayn and Rusev and Lana going over to SmackDown, now I have boundless hope. And they showcased it this week. Zayn looked really good.
Yeah.
One thing, though, I am mad about is that they once again put Zayn and Owens on the same show, and now they're probably going to do that matchup 100 more times.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You really hate it that the Batman and Joker are still fighting?
Well, when it's when they fight, not on a pay-per-view or from a feud, it's just like, okay, Owens, you've got a match tonight, and guess what? It's against Sami Zayn, and then Owens beats him in 5 minutes.
I don't have a problem with them being on the same brand. I just remember audibly laughing when Sami Zayn's music hit on SmackDown. I'm just like, seriously? They're just never going to break them up.
Yep. Okay. Who is the clear winner here, Raw or SmackDown, with the more acquisitions?
Oh, it's definitely Raw because even guys like Ambrose and Wyatt, who, Ambrose I think is kind of in limbo right now. What is he really doing? And Wyatt, if he doesn't win this title match, which somebody suggested he wins the match at Payback, he goes back to SmackDown with the WWE title. But assuming he doesn't and he stays on Raw, then I don't think he'll ever be anything more than a main event jobber. So I mean, even though they have those roles, I mean, there's still better names than, for example, again, like what is Rusev doing? What is Sami Zayn doing? Even though Zayn's been all over the TV and everything, he's still very capable of losing to Kevin Owens in a 5-minute nothing match on television.
Also, with SmackDown, when was the last time Tamina was on fucking TV?
A while back, I think.
Also, before her injury.
It's been a few years. Wouldn't have been when she was with AJ was the last time she was back?
No, it was Team Bad.
With, Sasha and Naomi.
Okay. But yeah, that's a few years ago at this point.
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
Yep. Well, she's back. Yay.
Well, it's good to see her back because she is less fat, better in the ring, Nia Jax.
I can't wait to see the match between those two. perfectly honest.
Good or bad, do you think?
Awful. God awful.
It's going to be built as the greatest women's wrestling match of all time, but it's just going to be dog shit.
By the way, Nia Jax should not be on television.
No.
She shouldn't have left NXT, but
That
We all knew this. We've all been saying this. I have been saying this one of the loudest.
I've been saying that it's fine for her to continue to be in NXT for a while. She needed it. She's green as goose shit. Sorry, I've got an echo here. She's green as fucking goose shit. If she would have stayed in NXT for a while and gotten,
They would have
some
found a
good
flaw and they would have
experience,
actually
she'd be
kicked her out.
fine. She'd probably be a decent monster heel.
I mean, it's just it's actually I don't think it's all Nia's fault because on that match and in that match on Raw, Nia dropped Charlotte on her head, but then Charlotte, when she did her moonsault, kneed Nia in the head. So I think there's something wrong with the structure of some of these women's matches. Like I feel like they feel like it's not working, and then they try to rush stuff, and then it doesn't really work, and it doesn't protect the opponent. That they're not really protecting each other. And this kind of goes back to like the women's Hell in a Cell, for example, where it felt like a lot of it wasn't working, and they were trying to get these big spots in, but they couldn't pull them off. And I mean, even the match at WrestleMania too, when Charlotte couldn't pull the thing off, and everybody's kind of trying to do their spots and get their face in the turnbuckle. And I just feel like I think they need to slow the tempo. I don't mean 10 minutes of rest holds. I just mean
Well,
like
why
they
don't
need
they
they
just
need to be scripted
do?
out better. Like I don't know to what degree the women's matches are called in the ring, but whatever it is, it probably needs to be less.
I think we could probably agree that Nia Jax had that knee to the face coming.
I can't be the only one who had flashbacks to TNA, Zima Ion, and Jesse Sorensen. The exact same spot. Zima,
Yeah, it was.
Oh, really?
Zima
Damn.
kneed him right in the head, and I was just like, "Oh, fuck!"
She could have fucking drawsed Charlotte there, putting her head into her knee like that.
They both could have gotten severely hurt, and I've come on here before, and I know I've said this before, that Charlotte is sloppy. There are so many times she goes out there, and I think part of the problem is they book too much of it in the back. You see them going through all these convoluted spots after they miss like spots, and it's clear that they have a pattern to the match, and they're just not. I mean, Charlotte's not been around. None of them have been around long enough, except for maybe Kana, except for maybe Asuka, to actually call a match in the ring.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe I need to take that back because if it is really structured and scripted out, and one thing doesn't work, they feel like they need to move on to the next thing quick and get the crowd back and this and that, and then they rush it, and then it's sloppy. Maybe you're right. I don't know what the problem is.
But there's obviously a problem. Something needs to be addressed, and whether it's just you need to send those two back down to NXT until they can learn to work safe, or whatever it is, it needs to be fixed.
Well, Charlotte's, sloppy as she can be, she's usually not dangerous. I think it's
Right.
just when they try to do those big spots where, like, I mean, a moonsault to the outside is it's not an easy spot even for a guy. But I mean, I don't know. I guess they just need to. Nia for sure just doesn't seem to have the athleticism basically to pull off some of this stuff.
Well, I mean, the good news is that Kurt Angle's on SmackDown now, so he can teach all of them how to moonsault without killing people, right?
No, he's on Raw.
Oh yeah, but shit, that he's on Raw. Never mind.
Well, he'd be teaching them how to moonsault to kill themselves.
Yeah, but you notice Chad Gable busting out a moonsault this week too. I don't think that was a coincidence.
All right, so last however long we got here, we already kind of said who won, but who's going to benefit the most? Which individual person's going to benefit the most?
To me, I think they already proved it this week is Sami Zayn. It's pretty clear they've dropped the whole, just kind of fidgety. I don't know what the hell they were going with that gimmick, but they gave him a couple of real video packages. He looked like an actual threat. Yeah, he got pinned, but it didn't feel like, it's not like he's losing ground from getting pinned again. He looks like he actually has a shot to be someone on SmackDown. I think he benefits a lot by being on that brand.
Yeah, as long as they keep it up, I would agree because, like I said, on Raw he was losing fight. Fought hard, took the pin, but didn't look like a loser.
And
so
didn't
again, it's all
and
about
didn't
follow-up.
go back to Stephanie, or not Stephanie, to Shane and go, but by the way, didn't act like just a total just spaz. I don't know what the gimmick is. I don't get it, but it was so pointless.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with that because I can't think of anybody else who's really gonna, except for Miz, if they really push Miz based on the way he really exceeded in the feud with Cena. But like you said, they might completely mismanage him. So I think Zayn probably has the most potential out of anybody.
Miz will always be wasted. I think.
Hey, where's the bell? Haven't we?
Ding, ding, ding.
Or the alarm? I mean.
Oh, sorry, I was fixing something else. So my microphone would work. What the hell? Okay, I can't hear it, but my phone hears it. I don't. Did you guys hear it? Oh, for the love of fuck. I can't hear anything now.
That is the best number pre the original draft.
They might, if they keep these numbers up, they might actually beat Raw when the football season starts.
Yeah, I feel bad for Raw right now. Birthdays. No. What you call it? Episodes, first like 2 or 3 episodes when it was like the draft and it was like new and first live and all that nonsense. And that's what but after that, there was maybe 1 or 2 birthdays. Dog. Right.
Toshi Umatsu, Rafaga, Lita, and Larry Winters tomorrow. All happy birthdays. And then on the 15th, a couple days from now, happy birthday to the greatest man that ever done lived, Austin Aries, Jenny Starr, Kowalski, Michio Kageyama, probably got that wrong, Nikon Lee, and Yukiko Monden. And those are the birthdays. Define following. It's a weird. There's a strange cult in the cockles of Tumblr that seems to think that Renee is somehow the devil, quite literally, and that this is all a storyline. No, because a lot of psycho chicks want to fuck me.
And just goes to show that
versus Nia Jax from Raw. Just so you can see, it wasn't. It's not like it was an awful botchy match where like it's Jackie Gata or somebody in there in the ring, but the parts that they did slop up were pretty bad. All right, so there's a chance none of that got recorded.
A lot of it probably. Like, I don't know what just happened. Fucking Discord just shit the bed. Like, hardcore. It started uh, about 10 minutes ago. Uh, I don't I don't even know what to do at this point. And I think it might have shit itself again.
If Jesus Christ himself headlined next year's WrestleMania, Triple H would make sure he had a better entrance than Jesus Christ.
You know what? It's funny because people were talking about that. I can't remember the last time, if ever, that Triple H legitimately had the best entrance.
In my opinion, they never did.
I mean, he was close at 31, but then Rusev came out on the tank.
Yeah. I think 21 was pretty sweet. That was Motorhead Live, and he had the whole crowd set up. Or 22 was fucking badass, actually. That was my favorite of his.
Yep. 22.
Yeah, wasn't that the first time they really kind of embraced the whole King of Kings thing?
Yep.
Yes.
He had his
That might have been
own
it.
custom king belt, too. It was sweet.
I would have to look at each one and remember everybody's entrance to really judge for sure. But,
Because, like, the only other special entrance, that was Chicago, and it was in
right.
Allstate Arena, and it's kind of small. So they did. John Cena drove out with the mafia car under the ring, and he shot a
Oh,
fake
that's
gun.
right.
And it was all right, but it wasn't. It was kind of.
Yeah,
It
I would say King of Kings throne is better than Gangster Car. Cena, Cena, his are always, well, he doesn't always have one, and when he does, it's kind of like
Boring as shit.
it's like an NXT one, like when he has a choir or when he drives a Dodge through the stage, or when he
I mean,
has a bunch of himself.
everyone always talks about 23 as his favorite. For me, I like 24 a lot better. The whole marching band. They had the FAMU, Florida A&M, like the world famous marching band out there playing his theme. And
Oh yeah, that's right.
that one I thought was pretty sweet. And then he came out and he was basically wearing the jersey and everything. And I thought that one was pretty good. I like that one a lot better than the.
I don't think you're ever gonna have a bad entrance where there were acoustics involved, whether it's uh, them playing Kane's theme for his wedding to Lita, or a marching band, or Motorhead Live, or whatever, or that band playing Wyatt's theme at 30.
I still say the best live entrance music that they've ever had was Punk at 29 when he had In Living Color, and they were so good. They were just perfect. The only thing that entrance was missing was some pyro. That's it.
Which one?
29 in New York with Punk coming out with Heyman, and then they had a In Living Color play, or Living Color. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good. I wonder. I almost sent a question into Meltzer's mailbag and asked him, how much input to the guy. Obviously, Triple H picks his own entrance, but how much input do the guys actually have in their WrestleMania entrances? Because I mean, clearly, certain. I mean, they can choose their own gear and stuff. Like Sin Cara had special WrestleMania gear on, but like let's say, well, like Chris Jericho, for example. Does Chris Jericho come up with the big inflatable list, or did somebody else do it, or Do they kind of mention the pyro, like like Alexa Bliss had pyro, and does she have any say in that? I mean, I would think not, but
how they had big plans for it and then kind of had to change it. So I think it's like a 50-50 thing. It's like what they can do and what they can get away with without outshining what needs to be whatever the top thing is.
I guess it kind of depends on your clout, and also, well, I guess it's like anything else; it has to get approved. Because let's say I'm Neville and I'm king of the cruiserweights, and I want like a royal procession carrying me to the ring. But then let's say I'm on the pre-show and there's a timing issue and I can't really do that. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, it's kind of a timing thing too, because I imagine, you know, like nobody really had, like, with this year, the ramp was so big. You couldn't really stay on the stage and do something. You had to start going down the ramp. So
I just want to say that whoever made Seth's entrance, if it was Seth that created that entrance himself, he needs to never ever do that again. And whoever wrote it needs to be fucking fired. Because I got the entrance, but they never once mentioned like the importance of burning it to the ground, and
well, that's not his
it just
fault,
looks so fucking lame. It really did. Like everybody makes fun of the sperm snake.
It was better. It was better than the snake.
No,
no,
it
I like
really was not.
I think
not to me anyway.
I think it's better to, like, have the ramp be a giant fuse. The only thing, you know what? Fire should have shot out of the turnbuckles, like when Kane does his stuff. That was the only thing I thought was missing,
Yeah.
because once the whole thing was lit up with fire, it was like, well, okay. I mean,
Like you get it, but it was never really mentioned at all by the commentators or the. They could have just done a line like he's gonna burn Seth burning down the stage, Seth burning down the grand stage of WrestleMania, some shit like that. But they just never did. And it was just he looked like he looked like the Gold Ranger from whatever that Power Ranger season is, and it looked like the Olympic torch. It was just really weird.
I still think it was better than